All right, let's write some code to create the solution to the lesson 2 programming exercise. And I'm going to be using the class diagram here to guide me in my answers. So the first thing is write code to create the entire pet class. I am going to change that quickly. I'll say write code to create the pet class, because we actually give the details for how to create the entire class there. We are missing some types of methods and some things called constants, which we'll get to in the next lesson. Sorry, a toString, sorry, and constants. All right. So the class is called pet. So I should not have called this lesson 2 solutions. So I'm going to refactor, rename, and I'm going to call it pet. There we go. I do not create a main method. I never do that for my base classes. Right, sorry, just need to get my alt tabs fixed. There we go. So write code to create the 4 fields of the class. The fields are always in this portion of the class diagram. I can see they're called name, length, tricks, and house trained. That's a string, that's a double, that's an int, and that's a boolean. A class diagram is meant to be language independent, so we don't use Java in our class diagram. All right, so all of our fields should be private. That's what the minus means. First one is a string called name. The next one is a double called length. Then after that we have an int called tricks. Then after that we have a boolean called house trained. And then finally we have a constructor. And as I mentioned, the constructor is a class diagram. We're going to call it constructor. But in the class, we're going to have to give it the same name as the class, sorry, in the Java. So we're going to call ours pet. So public pet. And if we take a look here, I've got in name, in length, in tricks, in house trained, which have the appropriate variable types. So that's inside the bracket, my parameters, string in name, double in length, yeah, that is correct, int in tricks, and finally boolean in house trained. Another thing to notice is that we write string with a lowercase letter in class diagrams, but we use a capital letter in Java because it is an object in Java. All right, and I need to assign the fields. So the question says, write code to create the parameterized constructor. Should probably add over here. Assign the values of, assign the parameters to the fields of the class. Okay, so I'm going to say name, which is one field, must be equal to in name. Length must be equal to in length. Tricks must be equal to in tricks. House trained must be equal to in house trained. And we are done. Well, since I put a semicolon there. Right. Write code to create the accessor and mutator methods. So I'm not even going to need to look at the class diagram because I know what these are like, but I'll go through the first ones. The first one, public. It returns a string and its get name, no parameters, for the brackets are empty. Oh, I'm missing my brackets. Let's put those in. There we go. And then finally on the accessors, set name, again private because of the plus, sorry, public because of the plus. And we've got one parameter here. It's a string called in name. So public string get name, and I say that name equal, return name. Then I have a so public double get length, and I'm going to return, wow, can't type, length. Then I have a public int get tricks. So I'm going to return tricks. And finally, for the getters, public boolean house trained. It is important to notice, return house trained, that your names must match the class diagram exactly, with one exception, the name of the constructor. But other than that, if I've said in name, you can't call yours n, for example. It must be in name. Okay, and let's do the mutators. So as a mutator, I have public void, because we're not getting anything from it. We're in fact setting. You can see here there is no return type after my setters, whereas all of my getters had a return type, but nothing after the brackets for my setters. And so set name, string in name, name equals in name. You'll notice these are just like the constructor, but limited to one at a time. So public void set length. That's double in length, and length equals in length. In public void set tricks, and that takes an int in tricks. So tricks equals in tricks. And last but not least, public void set house trained. Actually, yeah, that is really important. Boolean in house trained, and house trained equals in house trained. Not a simple stop, a semicolon. Okay, and now we need to code the usePet class. So let's go to learning objects, create a new Java class, usePet. I do want a main method in this case. So the first thing I'm asked to do is to create an instance of the pet class. That means I need to create the object. I did put that in brackets already. So pet, my pet equals new pet. I need to send pet a string double int boolean. The string is the name, which is shadow. The double is the length, which I said was 230.25. So we're clearly dealing with some kind of snake. And then the number of tricks was 0, and house trained was false. Then I ask you to display the name of the tricks value. I'll do them all in one line. If you did it in 2 lines, that's fine. It wasn't clearly specified. So system.out.println. The details are plus I want to display the name and tricks values. So name plus, let's put a semicolon there just to break it up a little bit, and sorry, if I want the name, I have to say my pet dot get name, and then if I want the number of tricks, it's plus my pet dot, and it's expecting you to get a string here, which is why it's highlighting the 2 string things or have them at the top, but I want get tricks. Alrighty, let's run this and test it. And there we go. So the details are shadow and not. And then finally, change the value of tricks to 1. So my pet dot set tricks to 1. Okay, maybe my snake learned to roll over. Okay, and if I print it out again, I didn't ask you to do this, but let's just take a look, and you should see it now has a value of shadow and 1. And there we go. So before we change tricks, it's at shadow 0. After we change tricks, it's at shadow 1. Thanks for watching.